All right, so today we're gonna dive into something pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It's one of those stories that just makes you stop and think like, what if that was me? You know,
Right,
the
exactly.
kind of thing that you hope never happens,
Hmm.
but it did.
Hmm.
So to set the scene, we're talking West Bengal, India, April 3rd, 2025,
Okay.
and the Supreme Court of India just dropped a bombshell of a decision.
Right.
They canceled something like 25,700 teaching and non-teaching jobs.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
It's a huge number, and it's all because of some serious irregularities they found in the way these jobs were filled back in 2016.
2016. So these folks have been working these jobs for almost a decade.
Exactly, almost a decade building their lives around these careers, and then boom, just like that, the rug's pulled out from under them.
It's hard to even imagine what that must feel like.
I know, and we're going to hear from some of the people directly affected by this, but first, I think it's important to kind of lay out the background here.
Absolutely. Context is key.
Yeah, so back in 2016, the West Bengal School Service Commission, or WBSSC for short,
I've heard of them.
yeah, they're the ones responsible for recruiting teachers for state-run schools.
Right.
They held this massive recruitment drive, and apparently there was a lot of, well, let's just say it wasn't exactly by the book.
So we're talking like cheating, manipulation, that kind of thing.
Basically, yeah, it went on for years and years before it finally came to light and the courts got involved.
So the Supreme Court basically said, no, these appointments are invalid. The whole process was tainted.
Exactly, and you can understand the reasoning, right? Like, if there was widespread cheating, then it's not a fair playing field.
Right. The people who earned their positions legitimately are getting punished alongside those who didn't.
And that's the real tragedy here. There's no way to separate the folks who got their jobs fairly from the ones who maybe didn't.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation.
It is. And to kind of illustrate the human cost of this, we came across the story of a teacher named Krishnamurtika Nath. She was working at a school called Raigunj Kailash Chandra Radharani Vidyapith.
Got it.
And she was actually a gold medalist from Rabindra Bharati University, like top of her class.
Wow, so clearly qualified for the job.
Yeah, no question about it. And she's the sole provider for her parents. So this job wasn't just a career for her, it was everything.
I can only imagine the stress she must be under right now.
And, when we spoke to her, she used this phrase that really stuck with me. She said it felt like the floor dropped out.
Yeah, that's powerful imagery. It really conveys the sense of shock and disbelief.
Right, like your whole world just kind of collapses and you're left wondering what to do next.
And for someone like Krishnamritika, who was supporting her family, it's not just an emotional blow, it's a financial crisis, too.
Exactly, and it's not just her. We heard from a lot of teachers who were in a similar situation.
This is affecting thousands of families.
Yeah, thousands, and they're all left scrambling, trying to figure out how they're going to make ends meet.
It's a nightmare scenario.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is that the authorities seem just as lost as everyone else.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we reached out to Siddhartha Majumpadar. He's the chairman of the WBSSC.
The organization that ran the original recruitment.
Right, and he basically said that they're still figuring things out. They've got to consult with the state government, get legal advice plan, new exams.
Yeah, fresh exams for over 2 million candidates.
Yeah, potentially it's a logistical nightmare.
And that's not even taking into account the cost or the time it'll take.
Exactly. And Majumpadar himself said that it's unlikely they'll be able to wrap this up in under 3 months.
3 months? That's a long time to be without a job.
Especially when you have a family to support.
Absolutely.
And here's another thing that's really troubling the Supreme Court in its ruling. They actually pointed out this discrepancy in the numbers from the original recruitment.
What do you mean?
So in 2016, there were something like 2.6 million applicants for these teaching jobs, right?
Yeah, a lot of people vying for those positions.
And about 2.2 million actually took the exam, but there were only around 24,640 teaching posts available.
Okay.
But somehow the WBSSC ended up issuing 25,753 appointment letters.
So they gave out more jobs than they had.
Exactly, over 1,000 more than they had openings for. And the Supreme Court called the whole thing vitiated by manipulation and fraud.
Wow, that's pretty damning.
It is, and it just highlights how deeply flawed this whole process was.
So what happens to the people who are appointed to those extra 1,000+ positions?
It's a good question. It's unclear right now.
It's just a mess all around.
It really is. And it's not just the numbers that are troubling. It's the stories of the individuals who are caught in the middle of this.
Right, the human costs.
Exactly. We spoke to another teacher. We're calling him Amit to protect his privacy.
Okay.
He's got a 9-year-old daughter, a wife, and his mother all depending on him.
So a lot of responsibility riding on this job.
Yeah, and he told us he felt like a tornado ripped through his life.
I can't even imagine.
And he maintains that he secured his job fairly. He did everything by the book.
So he's being punished for something he didn't do.
That's how he feels, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that sentiment.
It's a terrible injustice.
And it's not just the teachers who are suffering. The whole education system in West Bengal is taking a hit.
How so?
Well, schools are facing massive teacher shortages. Now they're struggling to conduct even basic unit tests, let alone prepare for the upcoming Matamic exams.
The secondary school leaving certificate exams.
Right. Those are crucial for students' futures.
Absolutely. And without enough teachers, the quality of education is bound to suffer.
One headmistress we spoke to, she said, it's like trying to run a marathon with no legs.
Wow, that's a pretty stark image.
Yeah, but it really captures this sense of helplessness and frustration that a lot of people are feeling right now.
So what's next? What are the authorities planning to do?
Well, the WBSSC says they're sending recommendations to the school education department, but so far there's no concrete information about what those recommendations might entail.
And what about the teachers who lost their jobs? Will they be eligible to apply for these new exams?
That's a huge question, and right now it's completely unclear.
So more uncertainty and anxiety for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation.
So we've got the Calcutta High Court ruling the Supreme Court, upholding that decision, the state government appealing that decision, and now this massive re-examination looming.
It's a lot to untangle.
It is, and it's important to remember that even Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has publicly expressed her disagreement with the verdict.
Right, but she's also committed to implementing it.
So a lot of conflicting perspectives at play here.
Yeah, and in the meantime, the SAC teachers are understandably furious.
I bet.
There have been protests across the state, people demanding justice for the honest.
Makes sense they feel like they've been cheated.
Exactly, and many of them are in a really precarious financial situation.
Especially those who took out loans based on the security of their jobs.
Right, and then there are those students.
Yeah, their education is being disrupted by all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Classrooms are half empty in some areas. Parents are worried about their kids' futures.
It's a ripple effect impacting the entire community.
One headmaster put it this way. He said, "We are supposed to educate the next generation, but who is educating us on how to survive this?"
That's a powerful question.
It is, and it really gets to the heart of the matter.
So where do we go from here?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, and there are no easy answers.
We still don't know if the SAC teachers will even be able to pass these new exams if they happen.
Right, they've been out of the testing environment for years.
And even if they do pass, will they actually get their jobs back?
That's another unknown.
But what about the long-term impact on the education system in West Bengal? Will it ever fully recover from this?
Those are all important questions, and unfortunately, we don't have the answers yet.
And I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that it's a reminder of the importance of accountability. The WBSSC clearly messed up. They issued more appointment letters than there were jobs available, and there was clearly some manipulation going on.
Right, and someone needs to be held responsible for that.
Exactly. Because when these kinds of systemic failures happen, it's real people who suffer.
Like Krishnamritika and Amit and all the other teachers and their families.
This is students and the entire community.
It's a stark reminder that these aren't just abstract issues. They have real-world consequences.
And it's something we all need to keep in mind going forward.
We can't let this happen again.
Absolutely.
We need to demand better from our institutions and from those in power.
And we need to make sure that justice is served.
For everyone involved.
That's right. Thanks for joining us today for this this deep dive into this really complex and frankly heartbreaking situation.
Yeah, it's been a heavy one.
It has, but it's an important story to tell.
Absolutely.
And we'll continue to follow it and keep you updated on any developments.
Looking forward to it.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.